Hello, and how's it going? Skull Kid Zero here. It's been a while, as you can tell. I've aged handsomely. Or, is it like wine? Age, it gets better. Actually, it has been quite a while. It's been almost a month or probably more. I've tried to put out some other videos and just didn't have much luck. Um, but I've been very busy. Went down, visited my family back in Miami. Visited my grandmother. She's 95, 95. Don't hate me, Grandma, because if I said the wrong one. um, but she's already her mentally she's there. Just so often it's hit or miss every day, and so she was already set up with hospice care. So it means that she's getting close to the end of her life. So that's one of the reasons why I've been kind of missing in action. But I mean, it doesn't account for all the time. Been very busy here at home too. My job situation changed during that time, and I went to being employed to being freelance. There, I put my soda down. I can put it a little closer. I guess I'll have to stretch so far. And now I run games online as a game master for people all over the world. And I never thought that would be a possibility. But yeah. So I just want to say thanks to all of my players. I have quite a few now. I'm looking to expand. So that's great. I know it is summer, so I know a lot of people have some time off to do some of these things. But it's really cool to have players from like Australia, and really cool to have people from like the UK, as well as like New York, and just all these different people from all over. And they're like, the coolest ones, in my opinion, are like the ones that are old friends, and part of them, like their brother or sister, traveled to the US or traveled somewhere. So they're trying to reconnect, and so they're looking for a game or a game master who can host those games for them. So that way they have a really nice experience. And I really do think I bring something different to the table. Each group is individually different. So they have individual different needs and things that appeal to them that probably wouldn't appeal to other groups. I have some groups where, they're younger crowds. So things like a character pooping their pants on a bad constitution check would probably not be the best thing. It'd be funny, but probably not something you would expect. Whereas a more mature group, punching Draco Malfoy in the face seems appropriate. I made a whole campaign about a fake Hogwarts, and Draco Malfoy's character was Mayo. That's his name. But that was actually a lot of fun. It was either going to be a hit or miss with that custom one, and so I was a little nervous about it. But things overall went well. I've been dealing with my own mess of bolts here as it's been getting hotter and been having to take care of the lawn now. Apparently where I live there's like a 10-inch rule, so I was away from at grandma's for the week. I got a notice of violation that my grass was too high. So when I came back, I needed to make sure that it was trimmed down below 10 inches. So now I have a rock yard. No, I'm just kidding. I trimmed my grass just yesterday, but it shouldn't need much more. But it's been really nice. It's actually pretty warm out here right now. But I'm actually be playing a game later today. I'm looking forward to it, to show you guys another game called Rimworld, which is a really cool game. Very basic. You could play pretty much anything that hosts the game on it, about being crash landed on a planet or being a tribespeople on a foreign planet and just trying to make it to survive, which is pretty cool. And there's a lot of mods for it. So there's a lot of ways you can play it. I know people who actually do RPG builds with it, so that's pretty nuts. Well, let's see here. But yeah, I run games now online through mainly Discord, Roll20 are the big #1 spots because Discord has better voice quality. Roll20 does have a voice and camera setting for broadcasting during the game, but usually you're just running the game module through Roll20. And D&D and other companies like Kobold Press and other game, even Savage Worlds, is on Roll20, which is crazy. I remember using this when me and my friends just wanted to play it. Now look at now I'm getting paid for it. Right now it's $10 per person for three people or more. When it's just 2 people, it's $15 per person per hour, and I'm doing pretty good. But I definitely need to step it up if I really want to make this a real thing, because eventually the demand is going to fluctuate. Right now, demand's on a steady rise, so I'm That's good, but I also need to make sure that I can keep that going and give people things to come back to, because word of mouth is a very powerful thing. There's plenty of people who leave reviews, people who don't leave reviews, so those are all very important to me, and I try my best to make it so not only are they heard as a character in the game, a player, but also as people, and they're each individual personalities and kind of the funny, ridiculous nonsense that happens as part of it. And I think part of that is just being a good person, maybe, not being a jerk. But there are times when I can be the game master that's roasting the entire group, like, all right, so you're the edgy rogue with the 9-page backstory, you're the furry archer, and you're the shiny knight paladin that wants to obey all rules. And of course, that's just like a labelization, very generalized, and the group usually completely disregards that 100%. And it's so much fun to see just like where they go with it. Like, yeah, I'm a knight, but I have, I'm like, you have daddy issues? Are you like Batman? Is it okay? Like, do we need to talk about it? Do we need to take a moment? And so we get to know each other and build friendships. Not just myself, but the rest of the group. And they seem to really enjoy being in a good group of friends. And that's one of the hardest things when I first started playing, was just finding a good group. And that's really why, the main reason why I even get paid for what I do, is because getting a group of people is hard enough. Getting a good game master is even harder, because you can have a game master who's brand new and they may be really good at it, but they may not be consistent. They may not show up. They may cancel last minute, or you may have players that cancel last minute, even if they're good players, and so then no one can stick to a schedule. So it goes all out the window so quickly. And that's a hard thing too with me being a game master. If some players want to skip a session or something, then that's fine. That's the cool part about I'm working with startplayinggames.com as kind of like the middleman to host these games, or to have them to promote my games too. But they get a small percentage out of that for each transaction, for each session that's booked, which is fine. It's better than the overhead that I was getting when I was employed with a company. The overhead for them was 90%, which was bonkers. Now it's only like 10%. So at least I'm getting, maybe I have as many people as I did then, but at least now I feel like I'm making the work that I'm earning is the work I'm putting in, at least more, closer to more. And it's not to give the other place discredit. I asked them if I can have a raise, and they just weren't able to do it, and that's probably just because they have more people on their payroll, so they need to pay them too. And so that really cuts into the overhead for the people who are hosting those games. What else? I did make a video a while back for 7 Days to Die, and I got a fatal game crash error, and it was right after the patch had released, where a horde of zombies spawned on my base, and then a red line of code showed up, and I was recording, and it just killed my spirit. I mean, think about it. Not only did I help to make that base and all this stuff, but so did Kim, and so did anyone else that I had play with me, or the hours I had put in. And you have no idea how many times this has happened with 7 Days to Die, which is unfortunate. As much as I love the game, having that happen recurringly is like having someone rip out your heart and step on it every once in a week. And it's just like, oh, that one, I like that base. Why couldn't I keep it? Like, game, why do you fight me so? And you think that was bad. On top of it, and then in Baldur's Gate, I went into for all extensive purposes, I knew it was going to be a hairy situation, because even all the other Divinity Soul games, usually the well is a terrible spot to be in. And I went in there and got TPK'd, and I was like, all right, cool. But the previous load save was right next to it, and I'm like, do I really want to go? And I also have this feeling too, genuine. Like, if my characters all die TPK, like, then they should not be allowed to respawn magically. My players don't get that. When they play campaigns, they make new characters. And so that's what I've been doing, trying to make a new character to play, the new patch, which just released the Druid, which is really cool. I played it the other day just to get through the 1 hour tutorial so I could play as the Druid some. And they added a new section in the beginning tutorial where there is what's the word for it? Not a mind flayer. The little brains. Oh, I have it on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember it. Intellect Devourer. And I went over to it, and it's like, oh, are you here to help us? And then one of the options is attack. I'm like, well, yeah, I don't want to be friends with an intellect devourer, so like attack. Instead of getting a surprise round, because I'm the one choosing to attack in mid-conversation, just like, even like one hit for the one person, it instantly went into combat, instantly went to initiative, and it was on even playing field because it wasn't like I was surprising them, I guess. But if you're in the middle of a conversation, like what we are right now, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you pull a gun out on me, yeah, I'm going to be like, oh my God, I got to pull out my weapon now, right? Because it's not like I'm already pre-holstered, like expecting you to attack me when I feel that we're on friendly terms, right? It's kind of like that whole debate of who shot first, Han Solo type nonsense. But it's a different conversation. Not even Harrison Ford wants to talk about that, so we're not going to talk about it. But yeah. So I went into that battle, just in the very tutorial that they just added. I'm like, oh, cool, they added something here, right? Let's see how it turns out. I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to be this intellect devourer's friend and attack. Natural crit for the intellect devourer, I'm down. The intellect devourer then comes over and crits again and takes out the Yankee girl who's with me. So there's only a party of 2 in the very beginning tutorial. I died. I didn't even pass the tutorial section of the ship. And I was just like, I'm so done right now with this game. Like, I'm waiting for Diablo Resurrected. I'm like, I need to get a better computer just so I can play a game that was released 10, 20 years ago. That was my childhood. There's no game that changed my life more than Diablo 2, Lord of Destruction, the expansion, and just me and my friends. Oh my God, the stupid stuff we would get into in that game. Stealing each other's items, calling each other names. It didn't sound like a fun thing, but for a bunch of boys, that's kind of typical, unfortunately. I'm glad to see that it seems like with this new generation, that's not always the case. There seems to be more emotional intelligence. Like, when I was a kid, that wasn't even a word. Intelligence was a word. Emotional intelligence was like, what? What? Get good, scrub. Like, get good, man. Like, you don't have to make it a pity party. We don't have to make it so about, no, it's not about that. It's just about being a respectable human in a world full of other humans. And there's a lot of bosses, head CEOs, and CFOs, and big names and companies that are getting more emotionally intelligent with staff as well, especially with how the political climate's going, social economic climate's going. It's becoming a big, big name. I've taken a lot of studies in it on other previous jobs. I would actually schedule a lot of my day to go to these seminars where they would talk about these things to understand what it meant to work in a workplace, not just by myself, but with other people, individuals, especially because some of the work I did in the past was very social. I was an event coordinator as well as promotions, as well. I did pretty much everything for this department for it's not human rights, it's not human development, humanities. It was just a humanities department for the college, for the University of Miami when I was there. And I had to do everything. So it was crazy. Blue, my cat's doing good. Molly's doing good. They've actually been pretty clingy since we've been back. Even with amongst themselves. Now Molly, the rabbit, chases Blue around, which is pretty adorable. Porch Cat's still around here somewhere. But it's definitely got a lot hotter, so I don't blame him for not being out. Even just sitting here in the shade on the porch is warm. So I owe some of you an apology. I released a video about like a channel update, and as soon as I released it, I realized I needed to make it private and to, keep it on the down low, because it wasn't just a channel update, it was me venting. And guys, most people don't come here to hear about my problems and hear about the world that goes on in my brain and all the things I've been through in my life. So for those who saw it, I apologize. I know that it's not like I was able to put a trigger warning on it or anything about some of the things that was discussed on it. So once I realized that someone could be harmed or hurt or emotionally just not prepared for what they were about to hear or see, not see, but hear. Um, I realized at that point I needed to take it down, and I should have followed up with another video, and I wasn't in the right headspace. And I think that's why I was kind of gone for a while. I just needed to realign the old noggin back to something more holistic, that's good for not just the viewers and people, the one subscribers I have, but also just to get back to my center some. And I think I felt I was having a lot of pressure at myself at the time because it felt like I was working so hard but getting nowhere. And I think I'm working now toward getting to a place where I can say, okay, I can see where my hard work is getting to, I can see where all the effort is getting to, I can see the investment, I can see the return, and I can see the amount of effort and energy that I'm putting in and what's coming out. I still have a long way to go. It's only the beginning, and it's not gonna just happen by itself, unfortunately. But I'm enjoying it, and I think that's one of the most important things that keeps bringing me back. It's like it's innate, it's in my blood that I love being a game master. I love making jokes and roasting my players and seeing what creative solutions they come up with. It's also just really funny shenanigans that they get themselves into. I think that's probably what some of the funnest, coolest things, and I'm literally making memories over thousands of miles that they can always laugh at. Like, can you remember that one time I got possessed by a spirit and you used burning hands to clear the room, and because you killed me, you knocked me down first, the spirit didn't die, it didn't kill me with it. That actually happened. That was hysterical and super clutch. It's definitely probably one of the most clutchest things I've seen, and it was definitely like this group was on the edge of like, this is a deadly encounter, this is another deadly encounter, and that was a tough bunch. This new book, Van Richten's, there's this creature called the Grimishka, which is like this weird cat rat demon. I don't know how else to describe it. It does not look pretty. It has magic responses, so when people cast magic, and a magic allergy. And then one of the options is explodes into a swarm of them. Repeat that, a swarm. It says it's a challenge rating of 2. That is a lie. Because it not only is a swarm, it gets resistances to damage attacks. So like physical damage, slicing, piercing, bludgeoning, all that stuff. It also has resistances to a lot of conditions. And it also deals a mess ton of damage and has force damage added onto it. It one-shotted our ranger with 23 damage. I didn't plan that encounter. That was one of the ones that was loaded inside the haunted house module for it. And whew, that monster is nuts. Whoever designed that one, you need to lay off the Red Bull, dude. Like, it's a cat. Yeah, you want magic allergy? Sure. But having it explode into a swarm, bit much. Because it's already bad enough when one person casts a spell that all 5 Grimishkas, or 6 of them in that room, have to roll a d6. I then have to take the entire time of rolling those rolls as the game master, on top of everything else of doing their attack rolls. They now have to do a roll just to respond to magic in the area. And now, if they explode, they become a swarm of them. So it doesn't, and the swarm has anti-magic properties too. So it can redirect an attack completely back at somebody if it's a ranged magic attack. That is a nasty, nasty creature for something that's supposed to be a challenge rating of 2. Just saying. I was very surprised to the point where I even showed my players the creature sheet regarding the swarm and the Grimishkas, because it's super strong. Like, before that fight, they fought some ghouls. Ghouls have high health pool. They have one ability with claws, where if they swipe at you and you fail your DC, then you're gonna get paralyzed. That's nasty, because any hit on a paralyzed target is a crit. So in that one session, 3-hour session, between the 2 floors, I had my players get knocked 5 times, and after the ghoul fight, I promoted them to level 3. So that means I gave them all back their HP, I gave them all their spell slots back, and then they went into fight in the Grimishkas. Great session for me. I handled it wonderfully. Just tapping my back right now, you know. Whew. But like, if I didn't give them that level 3 and just said, "You're tough luck," they were dead. Hands down, dead. I also ruled that they didn't get all the resistances to bludgeoning and piercing and stuff, because my party only had 3 people. So a challenge rating of 2 was not fair, because the challenge rating of 2 is based off a party of 4. That's what my average, what I believe is how that challenge rating works. It needs to be a party of 4. We're only 3 people. Yeah, that would have been done. That would have been it. Goodbye, game. We finally got to some combat and they died. A whole party TPK? Goodbye. That would have been awful, considering how many seances we had to do to get to this point. If I have to do another seance, it'll be too soon. I like them, but I hate them at the same time, because it's like trying to feed a baby. Sorry, my players, you're not babies, but I mean it more in the sense of some kids, they're just very colicky, and like, they don't want to eat. They'll push the food away, they'll spit it back out. And so no matter what you're saying, you're having to spell it out through the seance. So you could spell something out, just like you do in text, in a text message, and it completely can go over someone's head. And it's not their fault. It's just the way it sounds, or it says, and how it's read in your head. You could be like, "Oh, hey, how are you doing?" And someone's like, "This person asked me how I was doing. Asked me on my day off how I was doing. Oh, this must be the worst person ever." Like, you know, like, text messages and anything that's text-based has a subliminal effect of like what we have to infer or imply what's being said to us, even if it's something simple as, "Are you okay?" Right? If I ask you, "Are you okay?" and you see me, you can see I'm smiling, you can tell that I'm genuine about it, and I'm asking, you know, "How are you doing? I hope you're all doing really well, and that your lives are not as chaotic," but I'm sure they are. I'm sure there's a guy who just cut you off in traffic, and don't watch this video in traffic, of course, but like, you know, I'm sure you're thinking about that one time, or the one time your mom and dad were arguing about, I don't know, bills, because yeah, bills are terrible. So they kind of have a right to argue about it, but yeah, it's not fun to hear people argue. But yeah, totally lost my train of thought on that, but kind of get the idea of where my headspace is at. But it's just a beautiful day outside. I'm glad you guys can join me here on the porch. I'll try to get some more videos out, hopefully sooner than later, but there's no rush. Take the time you need, I'll take the time I need. Love yourself for more than you love others, and that way you can love them even better. Because if you don't love yourself more, then it's gonna be hard to share that love with other people. And I don't mean to be selfish, like, don't be greedy, but it's okay to spoil yourself once in a while, you know? If you want a little bit of ice cream, chocolate chip mint or something, hot day, that's pretty good. Go for it. It's the point of living. Spoiling yourself once in a while. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. Don't have to buy yourself a brand new car, but maybe it's just a soda on the porch. I don't know what it is. You have to figure that part out. I can't help you that much. I'm just a weird man on the internet. Am I even a man? Jesus. But, yeah. I think that's where today's video will end. If you feel free, leave a comment, subscribe, all that jazz that the people say on the internet. I don't know, man. I don't care. You can do whatever. I'm glad you stayed to the end. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to talk about. Just hearing the wind through the trees is really nice. What else can I think of? Dark Alliance just dropped. Ooh. So I actually played the Dark Alliance originals, not the PC one where you had a side scroll and you had to cast Find Familiar and all that old-timey pixelated nonsense. I'm talking about Champions of Norath, Dark Alliance that was on the GameCube and PlayStation. I don't know if it was, I think it was on PlayStation. Champions of Norath definitely was. I'm Played all of those, which were like 3D dungeon crawler games, and your characters would have certain abilities, but you could customize which abilities you want to use. In this Dark Alliance, it's much more arcade style, it looks like. The bosses look the AI looks awesome. The combat looks awesome. But this is what I'm worried about. It's going to be arcadey. And a game that's RPG based, whereas all these stories are coming from, all this stuff is coming from, you kind of want a layer of customization over it. Even if it's just picking up different items to use, different weapons to use as you gain levels or experience throughout the game system. You want something to show progress and what else is it? Effort. That you're putting something, you're getting something in for the time you're putting out. So when you join up with your friends, you'll be like, hey, look at this awesome buzzsaw I got. I can chop down trees in 3 hits now instead of 6. You know, it's something just to be like, hey, you know, the time I spent in this game means something. Cool game that tried to do that was Outriders, but the servers for Outriders, unfortunately, are still not the best. Gameplay is subpar. It's good. Storyline's actually pretty decent for Outriders. Kind of sad, but expected. But otherwise, servers part, drops and disconnects between players when playing multiplayer, and the lag because of all the monster spawning. Better off just playing Borderlands. That's the truth. I might say it, Borderlands, as much as some of the slapstick jokes are just a little too much, I know that's their thing. They need to be a little more subtle for them, because that's just the way humor and comedy works. If you're always saying the same thing over and over and over again and doing the same thing over and over again, it's gonna get old. It's the same thing with, like, that's why players, I assume, probably shoot Claptrap more than anybody else because they just get sick of him saying the same stuff. Some of the stuff is funny, but like at the same time, it's just like, come on, Claptrap, something original, something different. Let's see it. Let's see some character development out of you, huh? And now, of course, they're over there like, did you not play the Hyperion DLC? Did you not play this? Did you not play that? And I'm gonna be like, at the end of the day, it's still a Claptrap. I know exactly what to expect out of that. But with that, I'll end today's video. Thanks again for sticking around. If you got anything that you think is interesting that I brought up, throw it in the comments. I'd love to respond or hear from you. But till then, take care. Yeah, that's pretty much it. All right, bye.